All right. Well, folks, you know you're in for a treat when you hear that tune, because it's time for another week of the RecPoker podcast. You might notice things are looking and sounding a little different around here. We're trying some new stuff over the next few weeks, which I'm really excited about. Rob Gardner and his crew have been working behind the scenes to turn this thing up to 11, if you know what I mean. So I'm looking forward to seeing what we can get up to over the next little while. This is the Chats edition of the podcast. Thanks for joining us live on YouTube every Monday night at 7:30 Eastern. It's just one of the perks of being part of this wonderful free poker learning community that we call RecPoker. My name is Jim Reid. I'm Bluffsterini in the home game and at RecPoker Jim on socials. And I've got the best freaking job in the world, hanging out here with my poker friends on the podcast every Monday night. And we're going to be talking to Rob Perelman tonight. We brought him back. We had so much fun talking with him a few weeks ago. We didn't even get into some of the great stories he's got to tell. So we'll be talking to Rob in just a moment. First, I'm excited to mention that we are brought to you by Running Aces. They are the official sponsor of the RecPoker podcast, and we're going to be having a great time with them at the end of January. If you want to come join us at RecPoker Weekend at Running Aces on January 31st and February 1st. And I also want to thank some of our premium members. We got a few new premium members over the last little while. I want to say thanks to Robert Warburton, David Scouron, Jason Patton, and Kelvin Brown. They're giving us a try, throwing in their $22 a month, and we hope that they find just a ton of great value here at RecPoker for what they do. But if $22 is a lot of money, I want to let you know, if you want to give RecPoker a try, all you have to do is make a donation to your local food bank of any amount and send us a receipt, and we'll make sure to credit you your first month of RecPoker for free, because we all want to make the world a better place, and supporting a local food bank is a great way to do it. Now, I am just one man, a small cog in the RecPoker machine, and that's why I'm so glad to be joined by the RECing Crew, like I am every week here on the show. We get a different group from time to time, but I hope you get used to seeing these friendly faces and maybe a couple more over the next little while. Let's kind of just see what's going on with everybody and what we've been getting up to. Just for myself, we had Christmas last week. It's New Year's this week. I am very much in belly padding mode. We had the relatives over for dinner on Christmas, and ever since then, I've basically just been lying on the couch, binge watching True Blood with Mrs. Bluffsterini, and not doing any productive work at all. But it's Monday, and the real world is back, and so now I have to go back to my day job and all the fun stuff I've got waiting for me. But it has been a nice few days, a nicer few days than for some of our panelists here. Rob Washam, I understand you've been also on the couch, but not for the same fun reasons that I've been working with.
Yeah, I think after our adventure in Vegas, I left a couple days after you did. And by the weekend, I was feeling pretty poorly. And we tested ourselves with our home COVID tests, and both my wife and I were tested positive for COVID. So we've just been hanging really low, watching a lot of TV. You mentioned True Blood. I saw all of that when it first came out every Sunday night on HBO. But we've been watching Shrinking on Apple Plus, which is a really funny show. Now, I know Joe probably doesn't like it, but I think it's a really funny show.
Yeah. I used to study law a bit, and whenever I would go into a movies and there was like a courtroom scene, it made me want to tear my hair out because of how bad movies are at real life stuff. Joe, has that been your experience? Yeah, poker movies too, right? What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, just the reason that the show is so terrible is that one of the most important things is boundaries. Boundaries are important for psychologists. You cannot invite people back to your house. You don't get to be friends with them after you're done with therapy, and there's a reason you do all those different things. And so it's about as cringe as it gets. And watch the show, but there are some times I just want to leap out of my chair.
I believe it.
To be fair, it's the pool house, not their actual house. So
that doesn't matter. That makes it worth it. Dating your daughter. I mean, it's just not. It's not. No, none of that.
Yeah, a bridge too far for Doc Coolis over here. John Somsky, what about yourself? All fun and games and binging old shows? I think you've Somskied yourself, sir.
Yeah,
we got him.
I can mute myself when I'm supposed to talk in every technology. I got that nailed down, and I just wanted to make
Nailed
sure
it.
that I could still do that. No, I decided I was going to take the whole Christmas week off. We were just doing a database migration beforehand, and I just had to finish getting that off and done. And Christmas came and went. I was still working on it, and about noon on Sunday, I finally got done. So I got about an 8-hour Christmas break before I had to come back to work today.
Wow.
I remember those days, John, when at work, when I used to work, all those database things always happened on the big holidays. So those of us that were involved in it really didn't get the holidays like everybody else did.
Right. Well, you have to do it when no one else is using the system,
Exactly.
and when else is that going to be?
Yeah, humble brag for being happily retired, by the way, Rob. He always manages to fit that in. Also, how great the weather is down in Arizona. Like every time we're talking, it's just like, oh yeah, by the way, it's freaking beautiful here all the time.
Yeah, it was only 71 today. It was a little cooler.
There it is. Chris Jones, how was the weather overseas as part of your family Christmas vacation?
Well, it was rainy, but it was as expected, to be expected. No, it was really great. I just spent about 2 weeks over in the UK, seeing family I haven't seen in 7 or 8 years. Stayed in a little town. They live kind of outside London, so I went into London for a few days, but stayed in a little town outside London called Henley on the Thames. Henley is famous for being what I learned this from my cousin, one of the 3 locations for high society debaucherous weekends during the summer. You have Wimbledon, you have the Royal Ascot, and then you have the Henley Regatta, which is like basically drinking on water. So I learned about this little town that I stayed in for those 2 weeks.
They're drinking on water. What could possibly go wrong?
On my rowing machine, I've rowed in the area of the Henley Regatta. So I have this little pictures you go through, so I've seen that. It's very nice.
That's pretty cool. Does your rowing machine have a drink holder on it, Joe? Because it sounds like that is an important part.
What rowing machine does not? I mean,
that's awesome. Well, speaking of debauchery, we've got the one and only Rob Perelman coming back on the show. We had Rob on earlier in December and had a delightful chat. But we just scratched the surface, and we made sure to rectify one mistake as soon as we get him back on the air. Had to have a beer in our hands to say cheers to you, buddy, and thanks for coming back on the RecPoker podcast.
Cheers, and thank you to the other 4 of you that are just hanging out with me and Jim. This is all just a big excuse for us to hang out. That's it.
Yeah, that's right. Well, we hit it off so well playing in the WSOP over the summer. If folks want to get a little more backstory on Rob, they should go check out an episode from about 4 weeks ago. But Rob, in case our live YouTube listeners here aren't familiar with you, I kind of tee up all our guests with this one question. How would you define your own role in the poker world today?
I am a professional bomb pot loser. No. I worked it behind the scenes on many poker shows for the last 20-ish years, and I am also now retired-ish in that genre, but I still pop in every now and then and work on World Series of Poker and whatever's going on.
Nice. And it's cool. You've been involved in the world of poker for many years, and you're very connected. You've got all these fun stories about people and hands. In fact, I'll say if anyone on our YouTube chat has any questions for Rob, type them into the YouTube chat there right now, and I'll make sure that we ask them to him. We're also looking for some candidates for names to play Stake, Study, Stack, famous poker players. Maybe some PLO players, something like that. We'll see what kind of suggestions we get from the group. And I also want to remind our YouTube chatters that we give away a great prize at the end of every episode. And all you have to do is type the words food bank into the YouTube chat later at the end of the show. So even if the episode's a stinker, and with this guest, I mean, the ceiling's pretty low. But stick around till the end of the show, and you can at least win a prize for coming in. Thanks, Rob. I think it's funny, man. One of the things I love about poker is the people that you meet when you're playing. And I knew immediately that you were going to be the kind of guy that I could have a fun time with, that I could have this kind of humor about kind of taking the piss out of each other. And that you just brought that good energy into the game. Is that is that in every part of your life? Is that just a poker thing? Is that just a like games thing? Is that
I would say that is part of my life. I'm friends with a bunch of stand-up comedians here in Austin. They're poker players and stand-up comedians, but like we just, we rip each other to shreds pretty much every time we're playing, and there's not a subject that's off limits.
yeah.
So it's pretty fun. And yeah, you and I see eye to eye on that. And like, I mean, there's people that come in with the headphones and the hoodies, and they're taking it very seriously. And I respect that. I get it. I'm not taking it seriously. I mean, when I get in a pot, I shut down. Actually, last night I was playing and my buddy came into the poker room and he started tapping me on the shoulder, and I was in the middle of a huge pot that I was trying to sell as a bluff, and I said nothing. He kept poking me in the back. And he's like, "Oh, you're in a hand. I'm sorry." And then I finished the hand. I was like, "Oh, hey, how you doing?" But like in the moment, there's a time to be serious, but 99% of the time you're just sitting there folding hands and whatever. You see bet your ace king, no big deal.
Yeah. So you got to bring some fun energy to it, because it is a lot of dead time. And if you're playing poker right, it's a lot of folds.
Yeah.
So we've got some cool stuff going on in the YouTube chat over here. Frenemy Phil is here. Phil is on a hell of a run in December. Congratulations, Phil, on all your success. He's no Taylor Moss, as Taylor will be the first one to tell you. He also just had a huge score last week. So RecPoker members and Rec'ing Crew members are kicking butt. But all speaking of people that were kind of like mean to as friends, all kidding aside, Phil, really impressive year that you've had, and a great December as well. So remember us little guys when you're rich and famous and are running your own poker site. We have a question from the YouTube chat actually here. This is from DFS Brad. I'm going to paraphrase it a little. Just talking about some of like the craziest hands that you've seen. When we talked last time, we didn't really get into much of sort of like the drama of the high stakes games and that kind of thing. But you've been in a position to be to witness professionally a lot of these amazing moments in the poker world.
Yeah, and for me, it's always been really exciting. And I think I said that in the last podcast. I met Phil Laak on the first show I worked on, and he's like, "You have the coolest job. You get to see all the cards and watch how everybody plays." And I was like, "Yeah, I kind of do." And over 20 years, I'd like to think I got better from watching everybody. And what's my point? I don't know what my point was there. But yeah, it's always been fun to be in the room. And like I always tell people at the table, I'm like, "What's your favorite like all-time poker hand on TV?" And usually I'm in the room for it. And my personal favorite, I'm just going to start with it, is Phil Hellmuth getting it in with the amateur on what was that show called? The Poker Stars, The Big Game.
Oh, The Big Game.
And he loses 3. It was, I'll set it up for you if your viewers don't know. It's my all-time favorite. He gets it in somehow with the amateur who's got pocket kings on a like 9-9 X board, and he's got ace-9, Phil Hellmuth. So he's a huge favorite. They decide to run it 4 times. Phil Hellmuth wins the first one, and then the amateur wins the second 3. He gets a king on the second run out, a runner flush on the third, and the last king on the 4th run out. And the lineup of people on that show was so perfect because every board that came that Phil lost, people were just like laughing at him, pointing at him. It was like Phil Laak and maybe Antonio and Daniel Negreanu, and they were just all just like laughing in his face for every like board he lost. And we were in the back like crying, laughing. It was like so hard to even type in the cards. We were just, it was so funny. It was just the perfect person to have it happen to in the most ridiculous scenario. That one was like my all-time favorite. I remember tears coming down my face with every board that came out.
I can't imagine, because Phil, he's a fun guy, but he's definitely like a heel in a lot of ways in the poker world. So he's it's not uncommon to find people laughing at his misfortune. Phil, don't hate me. It's true. It's the truth. Come on the podcast, please. But it's just, and I love that it's like the recreational player, because the big game was such a cool concept. That you get like, I still want to be on it. It's not too late for 2025. Fingers crossed. But yeah, couldn't have put that back together any better. And apparently some of the YouTube chatters also feel like it's one of their favorites as well.
It's so good. I mean, like just the TV coverage of just, I think they showed everybody in the room just laughing, and like it. I mean, if it was you or me, people like, "Oh, that sucks, man. Oh man, you ran so bad." Like people would be compassionate. Even the guy that would, And the other thing too is originally he was going to run it twice, and then I think Phil said 4 times. That way he has some money left. If he loses 2, he maybe can win 1 of the 4. And so like the guy sat back down after the second run, and he thought he was getting half the pot. And then they ran it more times, and he's like, "No, I don't want to run it more times." Like he thought he had half the pot, and then he made 66% of the pot, and then 75% of the pot, and it was just everything was just poetry, man. Like it's so funny that he won the first one and then lost the next 3. It was just so absurd. It's like was a symphony of a poker hand, in my opinion. That was like hands down my all-time favorite.
I love it. And is there a sense of like, are there characters on these shows that you end up like rooting for, even as a technical person, like as part of the show, or rooting against? Is that part of it, or are you all sort of like robots just trying to put a good show on?
No, we're trying to be anything but robots. I remember in the early days we used to do like player drafts, like when it got down to like the end of the World Series, trying to and pick players based on names or random draws, try to make it fun for us. I feel like we tightened up the ship on that, try to make it like a little more professional, but it was fun for the early days. So definitely like we were, rooting for, and on the early days when there was no regulation, we used to go to like craft services tables and the players would be hanging out on the breaks and you end up chatting when you'd be like, oh, that guy was really cool. This Mike Mizrachi guy, super nice. I hope he wins. Things like that early in the day. Jen Harmon, always a sweetheart. You always rooting for her. But yeah, I mean, everybody's always rooting against Phil Hellmuth, like, constantly, all the time. I mean, really, like, that's what you want to see, right? That's what he's famous for, is losing on TV and blowing up. That's the best.
Hey, have a gimmick. I can't argue with that. I will say Jeff Platt was kind enough to vouch for us with Phil when we were down in Vegas over the summer, and he has said he will come on the show. So
nice.
Maybe
he's a nice guy. I played with him one summer. I wrote a whole blog about it somewhere, but like I came to his table and I was the guy. He like came at me because I came to the table, it was silent. And I was like, oh, we're not chatting, we're not having a good time. And they were all just so scared of Phil. They were like really, really quiet. And I kind of loosened up the table and he did not like that. It was his table until I showed up. And then we battled back and forth and I got him to make a really bad bluff. I got to call the clock on him. It was a wild day. But at the end of the day, he was like very nice and he was like gracious and we chatted and shook hands and like, like he's just so competitive. Like there's no cameras. That's the same. He was the same way with no cameras out. It was wild.
I do believe that. that. So we've got some other questions, some other hands to get to, but I'm going to take a segue here. So like how important is it to warm up the table? And like, what do you have any like tricks or techniques to kind of to break the ice when you get to a cold table like that?
I mean, me, I'm a talker. So like, I literally, I walk up to the table, I look around, I see Phil Hellmuth. I'm like, okay, that's not great. And then just everybody's quiet. And I'm like, why aren't we having fun, guys? Like, we're playing with the great Phil Hellmuth right here. You stroke his ego a little bit, make it fun. And, they were just all so scared. And I was like, but I'll do that anytime. I'll walk the table. And if everybody's miserable, I'm like, oh, we're all having a miserable day, huh? Cool. All right. I can't wait to play with you guys. Say something sarcastic like that. Again, there's so much downtime. Like, let's just chat and have fun in between hands. You can be serious as you want during the hand. But for me, I have to say it's an angle because I feel like I'm going to read you. And if I can get you talking and if I can happen to get you talking during a hand because we're now friends, maybe I'm going to get something out of it. So for me, there's obviously a reason for it. But regardless of that, I do like to chat with people because what else are you going to do? Poker is really boring. So
yeah, I love it. We're getting some good comments from the YouTube chat here as well. Keep it up, guys. I love seeing it. Like Ben Enslow's in here. It's just like the look on his face. Everyone rooting against him. It's just like the pathos.
He like sinks lower and lower into his chair with each board. He's like sitting up on the first board. And he like slinks down, and by the end, he's like just so far down in his chair, like resigned to his fate. It was oh my god, it's so funny. It's almost funny that he didn't blow up. He just was like dead silent, and everybody else was just like laughing and pointing at him.
Yeah, I love it. Let's talk about you. Also, you mentioned like the Farha Gold hand. That was pretty. So
I wish I had more like memories of like certain feelings that I felt during that hand. That's what I was gonna say before. I'm like I'm the first person that sees these hands. Like I see the whole cards instantly, and me and my team of like 3 to 4 people are the first ones that see it. So like it's really special when you see a hand and you're like, oh my god, this hand is going to be a viral hand, and you see it in the moment. It's like, to me, that's really special. So when they have kings and aces already, it's going to be something. And then they decided to like, I don't even remember the action, but like I think Jamie Gold has kings and raises, and Sam Farha 3-bets him, and then Jamie Gold smooth calls, and then he stops the flop and then bets dark on the flop. I don't remember how many bets were pre-flop, but they end up betting and calling dark, and they go straight to the turn. And the absolute best part of that hand is the camera cuts to Doyle, who's sitting at the table, and he goes, "This is what poker's come to." And it's just so nonchalant. But Doyle had such these great comments that were just like, oh my God, it was such gold. He's just like rolling his eyes, like, what is going on right now? And somehow Jamie Gold convinces Sam Farha to not bet the river when it's so like everybody in the building knows that it's aces against kings, including Jamie Gold. And he's just like, I'm not folding, I'm not folding. And he somehow convinces Sam Farha to check back what he knows is aces against kings on the river to be nice to Jamie. And like, it's just, that one was wild to see. I really don't even have any commentary for it other than it was just like crazy to see all this action. You know, kings against aces, it's going to happen. It's not always the most interesting. This one was just like, and I mean, it's Jamie Gold, you know, another guy you just love to hate.
but I want to, it's true that, you know, you get that, you kind of phrased it perfectly there. Like he got him to check back on the river, basically just like to be nice to him. And I think that's one of that is a real benefit of like being a friendly person at the table, being polite and generous and courteous and funny and like, you know, not shooting angles and making people feel comfortable. Like, I think people do give you an edge, whether it's, you know, not charging you as much to see a draw, or maybe they show their cards after a hand. You know, Steve Fredlund and I were playing it in the series, I don't know, 4 years ago, something like that. And we ended up at the same table for a daily event or something. And we were so friendly. One person was showing me their cards every time. And then a woman that he busted ended up buying him a back massage on her way out the room. So it's like, there are a lot of perks. There are a lot of perks just being that friendly player at the table. I will say that. So then let's talk. You mentioned another one. Oh yeah, the Dwan bluffing Ivy. Yeah. Bring
that one.
That
one was very special to me. And again, I don't remember the exact actions, but Dwan had raised with something like your fans will probably know this better than I do. It's like 6-7 suited, and Ivy has like ace. No, it's not 6. It's like 7-8 suited, and Ivy has like ace-6. And there's like nothing on the flop, and Dwan c bets, and Ivy calls, and the turn is a blank, and Ivy has ace high, and he turns a flush draw, and Dwan fires again, and Ivy tanks for a minute, and he calls. And I was so in tune in the game. Like, that's one of the things that's crazy about TV poker is you see the hand, but you don't see the like 7 hours that led up to this hand and all these other like minor hands and things that people have said. So like, I'm there, I'm in the moment, I'm in everybody's head. And when Ivy called the turn, I was like, well, he's got a flush draw, so obviously that's good. But he bet like full pot on the turn. I go, he's not calling because of the flush draw. He's calling because he thinks ace high is good right now. And obviously the flush draw helps. And then they go to the river. He misses his flush draw. He makes a pair of 6s. Ivy does. Dwan does nothing, and Dwan makes his giant bet. And Ivy goes in the tank for like 10 minutes. And I'm like, I wish the 6 didn't come because I don't think that matters. He was thinking his ace high is good, and it is. And long story short, he folds after a 10-minute tank. Production ended up going to commercial in the middle of the hand, and then like came back. And I said to the producer, I said, you have to put like a clock in the corner on TV to show that it was like 10 minutes of real time that he tanked. And I think they did. They showed a clock of how long he was in the tank. It was just a crazy hand, like just a pure Dwan heyday, you know, fire all barrels for no reason at all kind of play. And again, my favorite part of that hand is about 5 minutes into the tank, Negreanu's sitting next to Ivy, and Negreanu goes, I think I know what you have, to Ivy, and shoots him this look like, you have no idea what I have. I'm just the worst tossable hand in the world. And like, it was so funny because I was like, you don't know what I have. Like that. That's my favorite part of that hand. But it was just crazy being in their heads and being like, I see what Phil Ivey sees right now. He thinks his ace high is good. He's right. He didn't pull the trigger and make the call. He did get bluffed, but like his instincts were right on.
Now, do you have opportunities, because you're so plugged into the poker world? Do you end up like meeting these players later and like talking about this experience that like you had firsthand?
Great question, because you reminded me of another funny story. We did NBC Heads Up, and I don't remember the hand at all, but Chris Ferguson made some bad call and busted out on like the finals. And I was just like, I don't get it. And I was like very early on in my poker, and I ran him into the bathroom, and I was like, I'm going to ask him about this hand because I just don't understand. And I was like, hey, Chris, I'm like, I'm so sorry to bother you. Like, I know you're getting ready for the next match. Like, why do you make that call? And he's like, well, he's either bluffing or he has like, you know, the nuts. He's basically saying he's polarized. This is like 2006, so there weren't terms for all this stuff. He's saying he's basically polarized. And I was like, okay. And I walk back and I'm talking to like my other poker nerd coworkers, and he's like, I'm like, yeah, I asked him about it. And he's like, yeah, he said he's like, you know, he's either got nothing or the nuts. But he didn't have nuts or nothing or the nuts. He had like a very like marginal hand that beat him. And so we've had this phrase for years. He's like, he either has the nuts or nothing or a marginal hand that beats me. And it became this whole thing. He was dead wrong in his analysis because he didn't have one of the two. But it was so funny to us that like I still don't understand because he made this like he basically had a bluff catcher, and that was his explanation. So yeah, I did have that, and of course, like I said, I met Phil Laak very early on, and we've talked a bunch of hands that have happened. And in the early days, he would try to press me for like I have all the hole cards, not all the hands make the show,
Right.
and he would want to ask me stuff. I'm like, Phil, I'm never like gonna divulge any hand ever, whether it's on or off the show. Like I'm not going to jeopardize my integrity, you know? And maybe that was his angle, is befriend this guy and maybe he'll get some information out of me. I don't think so, but like he asked me a couple times. I'm like, yeah, I'm not telling you whether you made a good fold or not. You know, if it makes the show, then you'll see it. If not, you know, that's why I have the job that I have, is because I have way too much integrity. That's not even for any money, you know? And I'm like, I'm not interested in doing any of that. He did come in. We did have, when Jennifer Tilly was on the show, and she folded a full house. Again, don't know the hand history, but I know she folded a full house in the river, and it was on like the TV screens. He was in like the waiting room, and he comes running into our area before we had like security guards and all this protocol. And he's like, "Did she just fold a full house?" And I was like, "Yes, she did. Yes, she did." And everybody was so confused. It made no sense. She obviously had the best hand, and yeah, that one was wild. Yeah, Phil Laak and I have always been very friendly.
Yeah, and you mentioned you had a couple of Phil Laak stories. First, I just want to cue up Rob Washam here, who has been very plugged in to the poker market right now, and he's got some a deal to share with our listeners, I think.
Yeah, Sky Matsuhashi from Smart Poker Study podcast and the Poker Forge training site. He was our guest on last week's podcast. Shared some timely advice on how to make smart goals for your poker journey in 2025. To get more of this type of insight and inspiration, Sky is having a New Year, New Journey sale. From now until midnight on January 2nd, you can get a premium membership to the Poker Forge for only $300 for the year. That's a savings of $390 from the regular price. That's less than $1 a day. So go to RecPoker and click on Resources, Learning Partners, the Poker Forge to take advantage of this amazing opportunity. And don't forget to use the promo code RecPoker at checkout to let Sky know that we sent you.
There you go. Look at that. Delivery. Rob Washam just stepping up to the plate and delivering. Thank you, Rob. What a pro. And so we got so many Robs in the room today. It's actually kind of uncomfortable. But
you can't be named Rob and be bad at your job. If you're named Rob, you're perfect. You couldn't.
Yeah, we're 3 for 3 tonight for sure. So tell us, because Phil Laak is such a character. I want him to be like that all the time. Is any of that like a goofy facade, or is that what you get?
He was like that. He's obviously gotten older and he's calmed down a bit. And I actually feel bad because every summer I see him and I go over and I give him a big hug, and he has a bad back. And every time I give him this hug, he's like, "Ah, my back." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I think I finally assimilated the knowledge and I will not attack him." But yeah, back in the day, he was always like that on the sidelines. The story that, so my boss and his dad were the ones that started the company, and his favorite story was that one time, again, we were just behind a curtain, and Phil Laak came in and he said, "Hey, I have this like shopping bag. Can you guys hold it for me?" And we're like, "Yeah, of course." And we held the shopping bag, we put it under the desk, and he's playing poker or whatever. And he gets busted, this high stakes poker, whatever. He gets busted, and he's like, "Oh, I'll be right back." And he comes back in a hurry. He's like, "I need that shopping bag." $1 million in cash in a like paper Nordstrom bag, and he just left it with us. He just left us with like $500,000 in cash. Like, no big thing. We never looked in the bag. We didn't know until he got it. But that's what it was. And we're just like, this guy is just, I don't care how much you trust him. You're gonna just put $500,000 in cash with some random people. It was like the guy is just out of his mind. He's really out of his mind.
Yeah, that is a very trusting. You don't meet a lot of poker players, professional poker players, that have that kind of open heart attitude when it comes to leaving $500,000 with strangers.
Yeah. I mean, it shows that he trusted our crew. I guess he knew we were the guys like controlling the cards, so obviously we're the most trustworthy. Yep. He's right, but it's like, that's just crazy, man. Like,
that's wild.
Keep a backpack by your feet with $500,000, you know?
Yeah, that's the tip of the day, everybody. Brought to you by Rob Perelman and Heineken. I'm short on Grolsch, so it's a Heineken tonight. What are you working on, Rob?
Yep.
Oh, there you go. Sweet.
I feel so bad. I was planning on getting my my Molson Ice or my La Ba Blue, and I didn't have time again.
Merci, mon frère. That's so sweet of you.
Actually, do you
Bring
know Le Fin du Monde? That's my favorite
that.
Canadian.
Oh yes, I'm very familiar with The End of the World, the
God, that
beautiful
one's so good.
Quebecois. Yeah, dark ale. It's very nice.
When I'm in Montreal, that's my beer of choice for sure.
A wise man. La Fin du Monde. Come at us. We need a sponsor still. It's not too
Yeah.
late. We will take a Quebec sponsor at this point. La Fin du Monde, The End of the World. Fantastic beer. All right. So let's get back to the poker industry here. You've had such an interesting ride in the poker world, from a player to an industry professional to sort of taking a break, now playing mostly for fun. You've got this Bomb Pods channel that you're developing. After all these years, what does success mean to you strictly within the poker industry? As a poker industry professional, like looking down the road a bit, not that far even necessarily, but like what would you say is a measure of success for yourself in the
For
poker
me,
industry? Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I put in so many years that it's been a success to this point, and there really is no like turning down. It's all success at this point, whether I take more jobs or I don't. As long as I'm winning as a player, that's fine. Obviously you want to be getting better. Anytime I make a bad decision, I'm kicking myself for a day, saying I should have known XYZ. Obviously, we can't be perfect all the time, but always trying to improve and play. As far as industry, I don't even know. I never know if I'm retired or not. Like I thought I was retired last year, and then I came back out and did World Series. We'll see what happens coming up. I have no idea. Like I don't know what the path is, so it's hard to define success when you don't know if you're employed or not.
There you go. Joe, you had a similar question, and the audio is loud and clear. No issues here. By all means, jump in.
So, we talked last time about your journey, and you've said, kind of famously that you hate poker. And so the question that I had was, is there anything that would ever actually make you stop, just walk away and just like, nope, no more. I'm not playing. I'm not being involved. I'm doing something different. Because you do have a little bit of a jack of all trades kind of motif.
I did actually basically walk away. I don't know if I talked about that last time. I won a big tournament in 2011, and then I played the rest of the year because of U.S. tax benefits. The way it works is you got to like write off your wins against your losses, blah, blah, blah. So I played a bunch in 2011, more than I've ever played before. And I hit 2012 and I go, why am I still playing? It's not fun. Tournament poker is a grind. It's just not fun. And I basically like stopped playing poker in 2012. And it wasn't until about 2016 that a good friend of mine, his name is Strung Out One, Pocket Fives leaderboard champion, was like, why don't you come to Vegas and play the Monster Stack, the 1500? Me and my buddy will put you in, free roll you for whatever percent. And I was like, I don't play poker. I don't care. He's like, just come. It's a free roll. Like, we're going to put you in. Who cares what happens? And I was like, sure, why not? And I popped in there, and I discovered that day that when you're not playing for a living, you're not trying to win, and it doesn't matter. You can actually open up your game a little more and make plays that are like, the best play, but you might not make them because you're, I don't want to bust this tournament right now. I didn't care. I made a 3-bet bluff with ace queen high in that tournament because I had a read that the guy was going to fold, and he did. And I was like, oh wow, I really turned a corner here. And it was a 4-year break that got me to that point. And I basically just dabbled since 2016 because of that tournament, and was like, oh, it's kind of fun again in a way because I don't care. But then right now it's not fun tournaments, and I'm kind of focusing on cash games, which is way more social and fun. You can win some money every day rather than win a bunch of money once in a blue moon. But yeah, I've been saying like Texas poker is great right now. And if the day comes that they start charging normal rake here in town, I may walk away again. It's just so good for a winning player that they're charging time here.
Yeah, that makes a big difference. And I think recreational players don't put in the volume to really understand how important like different rake structures are. But it definitely in the long run takes a lot of your win rate away if you're paying conventional rake. What can I ask? So what's the drop there for the time rake that you guys play?
So the normal drop is $12 an hour, and I'll just break it down. If you're taking, let's say an 8-handed table, because people come and go, so they're taking about $100 an hour off the table. In a normal Vegas casino, they're taking about 150 an hour in drop at a 1-2 game. And on top of that, if you're a winning player, that money's coming out of your pots. You're winning the pots, and the money's coming out of those pots. Here, everybody's paying an equal share. So if you're a losing player, you're paying as much as a winning player in rake. So the pots are bigger. And so if you're a winning player, you're actually winning more in these structures. If you're there to gamble or whatever, the Vegas structure is better because you're not paying the rake, you're losing the pots, and the pot, you know, the rake's coming out of the winning pot. So I think if you're just a recreational player and you don't think you're necessarily a winning player, you just want to have fun, I think this is a bad rake structure for you. But for somebody who plays poker and is a profitable player, it's amazing in Texas. And I honestly I think at some point in the next few years, something will change and they'll push the boundaries and we'll be back to a normal rake structure because they're charging, like I said, $100 an hour versus 150 everywhere else. And I feel like something's going to change. So I'm trying to just get in as many hours as I can before that change comes. But on top of the $12 an hour, there's promotions left and right. There's rooms fighting for business. So this room TCH here that just opened is doing a New Year's Day special. They're charging $50 for the entire day on New Year's Day.
Wow.
However many hours you play. And I'm like, wow, I don't know what I'm doing New Year's Eve, but if I can pull a 10-hour session there, that's $5 an hour. I mean, it's pretty, you know, pretty nice. So there's always deals going on. There's match time. Lodge did one where you pay 500 and you get 1,000 in time. So it makes it like $6 an hour. So there's a lot of promotions that make it even cheaper than that.
That's really cool. And I get asked this question sometimes. Does it change like your opening ranges much? The difference between being in a raked game or a time drop game? Does it mean that some of those like cusp hands aren't really profitable if it's a rake game, for instance?
I wouldn't really speak to that specifically. I don't know if it changes. I mean, somebody smarter at math could probably tell you that it's better to do this or that. I'm adjusting my ranges based on like the style of play here in Texas where people are calling with anything and, you know, you're going to get paid. So you kind of got to go more value heavy. Whereas if I was playing in a Vegas game, you can get away with opening, you know, lighter hands because you're going to be able to bluff people off hands. It's not really the case here. I mean, you can bluff. I was on tilt the other day and I 3-barrel bluffed a guy and it worked. And I never would 3-barrel bluff in Texas. I think it's probably my first and only one of the year because they just never fold.
So I hear about these games in Texas being so crazy. If they're never folding, then is it really just a making hands and getting paid game? Because that actually doesn't sound very wild. That actually sounds very sort of like, you know, tight and aggressive. Kind of boring.
I mean, it's hard to describe. I can tell you a hand from last night that just illustrates like the level of play. I open ace jack. I get a few callers, and the flop comes king, queen, X with 2 diamonds. I have no diamonds. I just have a gut shot. And they checked me and I don't see bet. Where I was in Vegas, I would probably see bet, but I'm not going to see bet here because they're just going to call with like any pair, and you're just going to like you just got to make your hand. I make the nuts on the turn with a 10. Beautiful. One of the guys comes out betting. I raise him. He calls. A river's a blank. I have the nuts, and he comes out betting again. And I bomb it. I had 450 in my stack. He made it 70 on the river, and I was deciding between 210 and all in. And I was like, I don't think I can get the call from the all in. It makes no sense the way he's betting. I have no idea what he has. So I'm going to go for 210, but it's going to be a long tank. So it looks like a bluff, like I missed diamonds. And I don't even know if they're on that level, but I'm like, whatever. I just think all in is too strong. So I made a 210 and he ended up calling off, and he said he had ace king. So he didn't 3-bet pre.
Right.
He checked flop, which is about the only street that he probably played good. And then he bet turn, got raised and called, and then bet river, got raised and called with 1 pair.
Okay.
I'm not saying he's an average player that I played against, but it was just like the decision making in that hand is pretty bad. And so like, I mean, even up to the river, when you make a bet and you get raised, like you beat only a bluff. And
right.
If you play with me at all, you know I just don't have a bluff there. Like I didn't see bet the flop. Like it makes no sense. So like that's just a small example of like you just get way more value than you would. If I played that hand in Vegas, even up to the river, if I raise the river, they're gonna fold ace king because I obviously have 1 pair beat. So it's that kind of, it's knowing like how to extract value and like, you know, making appropriate bet sizes and not being worried, oh, let me slow play this. No, don't slow play it because they're not going to fold. You know, I folded ace queen on a queen high board yesterday to a guy who, you know, bet the flop. He bet 3-bet all in, and I was like, it's queen 6-7. I have ace queen. He just has a set. What else does he have? It's 2 clubs in the flop. He doesn't have a flush draw. He doesn't have like king queen. He just has a set. And I folded, and he showed me a set.
Yeah.
So it's about like, you know, just playing, you know, you would never fold ace queen in a Vegas hand. You know, the guy 3-bets all in. There's 6-7. There's clubs. You know, It's stuff like that. And if you can navigate these waters and figure out when to fold when they have it, and figure out when to really put the pressure on and how to get bet sizes and whatever, like, you're gonna make a killing out here.
No, I mean, that does sound good. We're talking about doing a trip. Well, we're doing it up to Running Aces in Minnesota at the end of January, and they're all about spread limit up there. So the maximum you can bet or raise on any street is $100.
Yeah.
So it's also a game where it's like, by the end of the hand, it's actually hard to bluff, because if you can only bet $100, if there's been a few streets of betting, it's like the most you can bet is a quarter pot. Functionally, so it's a very tricky game.
I played that in Arizona one time. Like, one day they used to have a spread limit, and I flopped a set, and I went for check raise. And as soon as I checked and realized I was going for check raise, I realized that was wrong in that game, because I can't check raise them off. Like, once I check raise the flop, the pop gets too big, and I can't bluff them off on the turn, or not bluff them off. I'm sorry, like, get them off a draw. And I was like, oh man, I think in that structure, I think I'd prefer just bet and keep the pot small enough so that on the turn I can bomb, in that case, it was 200. I'm like, I could bet 200 on the turn into a 200 pot and give him to fold the flush draw. And the other way, I check raised, he called, and then the pot was like 400. And I bet 200 on the turn. I did win the hand. The diamonds or whatever didn't come, but I was like, oh, it's weird, these like tiny adjustments you make in a game like that. So when you play there and you flop a set, don't check raise.
That's right. Yeah, board texture matters. So Chris Jones is one of our local Minnesotans. I'm only an honorary Minnesotan, but I'm going to be there, and I'm very much looking forward to it.
He's going to crush you. He's going to crush you.
They have it all figured out. These guys know exactly what they're doing in that format. But Chris, actually, the theme of the month at RecPoker in our premium membership is sizing, I think. Is that right?
Yeah. So this month, and speaking of, my advice is just to try to avoid spread limit at all, as far as you can possibly run from it. But so this month in the deep dive, we are doing a slow kind of 3-part series where we're looking back at fundamentals, and that's going to lead us into our 2025. We have some exciting things to announce about the deep dive coming soon, which I'll wait for another date to tell you. But so this month, we're in January, we're talking about bet sizing, which relates to spread limit. It relates to all the kinds of games. And I think a lot of players don't necessarily think about, in a game like No Limit, you can have all these different kinds of sizes. And I think players get really stuck into sort of kind of one set of behaviors, and they sort of do that. And we really sort of try to pull open the lid and talk about all the different kinds of sizing we can take, from the sort of the micro bet to the massive over bets, and when we might want to use those in our game. So that's kind of the conversation we're having this month in January.
Yeah, right on. So, Chris does such a great job running our membership training material here, and he's been doing it for a long time. And I love when we get into the nitty gritty. Some of these, like the non-sexy skills of poker, like math and bankroll management and game selection. I know. I can see the grimace on Rob's face there. He just wants to have fun, but it matters. It matters. It's a big part of it. And I'll just remind folks, if you want to get some of that premium training material available, all you got to do is sign up for a free RecPoker account. You can get your first month for only $5 by using the code RecPoker, or you can just donate any amount to a local food bank and send us the receipt, and we'll make sure to credit you with your first month of RecPoker for free. So do give that a try and check it out. Speaking of food banks, we're going to talk to Rob here about some favorite poker memories as we look back on 2024. I'm going to be asking each of our RECing Crew members to share one of their favorite poker memories from the year in review. And if you're in the YouTube chat, why don't you type a couple of your own favorite YouTube memories, and we'll see if we can get them on the air. So we got a few folks mentioning that the Texas poker game is a good place to be. Lorianne Persinger, who I was talking to, she couldn't make the show tonight, but she'll be in here next week, saying cash games in Texas are wild. And our friend Jay Venom Carafiello, you know him as VA Venom, saying Texas poker equals greatest place on earth to make a profit. Yeah, I believe it. We have a few Texas members, and they speak well of the game. Let me put it that way, Rob. Is it your favorite?
Come down here and take a group trip. Come do it.
Yeah,
come down here. It's like you have so many rooms to pick from too.
That's a great idea. Let's do a RecPoker road trip down to Texas. Well, maybe on one of these frozen northern months. I think maybe we can sneak one in.
It was 88 degrees today. Fahrenheit.
Oh. All right. Yeah. So we got another Rob Washam on the group here. Yeah. Just tell us how nice the weather is, how great it is to be semi-retired and just playing poker for fun.
A lot nicer than in Arizona right now.
Yeah.
I love it. So I'll just encourage, like I said, our YouTube chatters, start sharing some of your favorite poker memories from 2024 with us, and I'll encourage the panel here as well. Rob, for you, what do you even have fond poker memories anymore? Like what even constitutes a fond?
Are we talking like personal memories or like memories of things that have happened that
your own experiences in 2024, finally winning a pot back from Nick at your local casino. I know that's a big one.
He has not shown up since the last pod. I feel like he got humbled a little bit. Yeah, I sacrificed that night, and
This is no lie now. This is straight truth here. So
this is all truth, yeah.
So Rob tells us at the end of the last episode his poker nemesis is this guy Nick at the local game that's just been eating his lunch. And then Rob and I are catching up the night after the show, and he texts me a photo of his chip stack. He's like, "I got Nick. We stacked him."
Yeah,
and he hasn't shown up since.
Got him twice, yeah. So 2 bomb pots, and then I heard he's just running low on funds, and I've not seen him at the poker. And that was at Pecan Street Social downtown. Hasn't been back. We always talk about it. Yeah, I mean that's normal for the games too. When you're not studying and really like studying the game and trying to get better, you're gonna go broke, and these players are gonna disappear. So who knows if we'll see him again? I don't think he's the worst player. I just
Oh no, he had your number. In fact, that was the. Well, I'm glad you got to stack him. We won't put him in stake study stack this week, but I know he would have been on your list.
Yeah. Good memories. I mean, like
good memories from the year.
About it, but meeting you and having that day playing poker, those are the days that I want to have. I don't want to sit at a table where everybody's got their headphones on and is like miserable. So that was a fun day. I mean, I'm trying to remember I'm sure I met other people and had fun. You can't be the only one, but that was a fun day. Cashing in Cyprus in the World Poker Tour, my first World Poker Tour 1K event. That was pretty cool. Going to a random country, and the journey to get there was amazing. So that made it all the sweeter. That was a pretty good memory. Picking one is tough. I mean,
no, I like the vignettes. I like having a few. Yeah. We're just painting some nice poker stories here. Who on the panel?
Yeah.
No, Rob. No, please. You were
I was just saying, it's all cyclical. So I don't even know what was this year and what was last year and what was the year before. It's all just kind of rolls into another. Before I met you, what did I do in the first 6 months of this year? I don't even know poker wise what I was doing. It must have been all miserable. So
it sounds like it.
I mean, I don't want to build your ego up, but meeting you, highlight of the year, highlight of my life.
Oh well, how about this, Rob? What a guy! What a friendly fella.
I have a similar story. I ran into this guy myself. I was sitting 2 weeks ago. I was sitting in Horseshoe playing a little 1-3. I looked down at my Discord, of course, my RecPoker Discord, and there's Jim Reid posting a chip stack. And I expanded it on my phone and saw that it was horseshoe chips. And I'm going, what the heck? I started looking around the room. I thought, where in the heck is this guy? So I texted him. Of course, about 10 minutes later, he was on my table, and my table turned in from a very stoic, very not a lot of talking into the table of the room. I guess everybody was having a good time because Jim was there, and he's spreading love and happiness wherever he goes.
Do you think Rob? Do you think Jim is just on a quest to collect all the Robs in the poker world?
I want them all.
It could be.
I want all of them. It could be every single one. All the good ones. The good ones, anyway. I'm definitely collecting the good ones. Yeah, that was super fun. Sorry, Joe, what were you saying?
I was just going to say my favorite is also a Jim story, because this was the first year that I went to Vegas to play, and I met Jim before. I mean, we met in Minnesota once before, but I backed both him and Brian Winter on the Golden Blazer, and so had this moment where I got to go. I was meeting with Brian and talking with him, hanging out a little bit, and then Jim came over, and he was there, and you can't see because I'm sitting down, but I go about 6'1", so I'm not a short man. But I felt so damn short standing next to the very tall Brian Winter and the unreasonably tall Reid. And I was just like this dwarf going, "Hey guys, great game in the RecPoker." That's my favorite.
Good. I remember that one. Yeah, that was a good one, Joe. You did pretty well. You backed a couple of good horses for that one, if memory serves.
Jim,
Yeah.
was your favorite moment meeting yourself this year, or what? I mean, we're all
I really feel like I got to know myself this
Yeah.
year really well. That was a big step for me personally. Mine was probably, I mean, I always have a good time at the World Series of Poker because it's like the summer camp. You get to make new friends, spend time with old friends. And then I think the thing that was really cool for me was going back down in December and playing the World Poker Tour Championship. Like when I joined Rec Poker a few years ago, there was zero plan to ever enter a poker tournament that cost 10,000 American dollars. American dollars, 10,000 of them. That was not part of my plan ever. And this year I played two. I played the WSOP main and the WPT championship, and like that was that wasn't on the game plan. But boy, it's been a hell of a year. It's pretty damn exciting.
I didn't follow the play-by-play. How did we do? I'm not needling you, just asking a question.
I had a better outcome in the summer. Where I took 2/10 out of the main, and then for the WPT championship, I made it to dinner break on day one, a very respectable amount of time, but did not set a new high score, did not find a bag, and had zero intention of firing a second bullet into that. But it was a great experience, and I think I only really butchered one hand that we're sharing on a forums edition of the podcast in a couple of weeks, so people.
Oh, you gotta send that to me. I can't wait to read that one.
Oh yeah, no, I think I played every street. No, I called pre-flop, and that was the correct decision, I think.
Okay.
But after that, I really just blew it. I really just butchered it. So
yeah,
I'll send it to you. You can have a good hate listen. It'll be fun. Okay.
I do it to all my friends. My friend played a hand yesterday. I go, I hated every street that you played there. Like, so I told him to his face right after, like as the hand ended. I was like, you played that terrible. So it's not just exclusive to you, and I'm happy to hear it back too.
Yeah, it's true. You can take it. But yeah, that night with Rob Washam playing till 6 a.m. in the Horseshoe. And meeting your lovely wife Patty and making some new friends over there. That was a fun one. And then like just ditching COVID at the last minute like a ninja to make sure that you got it and not me. I was most proud of that. Yeah, super cat-like speed and reflexes. Ben Enslow in the YouTube chat saying his first poker trip this year. He made it to Playground. I was there. We had a fantastic time. And that was his poker highlight of the year. I think that was also a WPT circuit, event for that or something like that. That was pretty cool. And Ben says, yeah, Jim's ace is getting cracked and him cheering louder than the person that won the pot. Yeah, that was he deserved it. You could tell that's how that was going to go. There was no doubt in my mind. Yeah, sometimes
that's such a great venue. I don't even know what the event was, but like, yeah, that's like Playground is always a highlight. That place is just amazing.
Yeah, it might be my favorite poker room period.
Yeah, because you haven't been to Texas yet.
Okay, so we got to make that happen. Make that happen. Early, late fall, if not late spring. We'll get it circled.
I'm ready for it.
Yeah. Do you actually operate as a tour guide as well? Do you offer vacations
for you? Whatever you need, buddy. I'll pick you up at the airport. You can sleep on my couch. It'll be great.
That's it.
And,
yeah. You've obviously met me, Rob. That's right up my alley. That sounds freaking fantastic. All right, well, folks, so we're going to let Rob go here shortly. Why don't you start typing the words food bank into the YouTube chat if you want to be entered into our prize tonight. And Rob Washam, what is the winner getting this week of our food bank raffle giveaway?
Well, to keep with the theme of the month, we're going to go with a free month at the Poker Forge.
Lovely. All right, there you go. Well, that's going to be a blast for someone. Unless you're not. Oh, actually, I guess we do that no matter if they're a Rec Poker Premium member or not. Lots of opportunities for folks to win some cool stuff over here. And I see a couple are already getting to type them in there. While people are typing in there, Rob, it was brought to my attention that there's some guitars and it looks like a drum kit. Are those an electric drum? Are you musically inclined? Do you play frequently, or is it just something that you like look at and feel sad?
I always feel sad. I've been around music for a long time. I used to tour with bands before doing poker, and I played guitar for a long time. And so I'm not good, but I'm fine. And like 4 years ago, I said I'm gonna get a drum kit and just mess around every once in a while, and I'm less fine at that. I'm okay. I'm better than you would imagine I would be as not being a drummer, but yeah, I'm not good.
No, but it's fun, right? I had a kit
It's
in my
super fun.
apartment for a while. I used to play, not very well at all, but it's a fun instrument, and it's probably the most fun instrument to air play. I think like that's
Yeah.
really, you can really groove into that. I think in a way that other instruments leave a lot.
I think every poker player should have a drum kit, because when you take a bad beat, you come home and you just get to beat the crap out of something. It's just
That's
so
nice.
therapeutic. Yeah. Anytime I'm in a bad mood, I usually end up playing drums, and it makes me feel better.
Nice. Well, folks, type those food bank raffle entries into the YouTube chat here. All you gotta do is type the words food bank, and you can win a prize. Follow-up question from Joe. What are the guitars? Are they
Yeah, how do you
special?
even
Are
see the
they...
guitars? You can see that right there between the two bottles of booze right there. That's impressive.
I always know where guitars are at any particular point.
I mean, I had it in my shop before, but then we changed cameras. So I have my pride and joy is my Gibson SG. I picked it up in 2003 when I was on tour from a Guitar Center. I don't know. I got a crazy deal. It had like the tiniest nick on it, and I got it for like $700 out the door with a hard shell case, and it's trapezoid inlays, and it's such a great guitar. And even though I don't even touch it, it just kind of sits on my wall. I could not bear to like part with it. And then I have a crappy acoustic I got last year because I had two hooks on the wall and I wanted to make it look good. And so they're both kind of more just for show. I do pick it up every once in a while, but I'm more like, if I'm going to play something, I want to play drums because I'm worse at drums, I think. Wait, no, I'm pretty bad at both. Yeah.
That's good, man. We'll keep it up. It's important to have these like fun things in our lives, and especially the more involved we get in poker, the less it plays that role of being that like escape valve of that actual hobby. And so I think it's really important to have music or art or something like that, movies. Do you have anything else like that keeps you grounded?
I'm hearing you and I'm thinking something else in my head, so I'm just going to tell you what I'm thinking because I'm so crazy. I've been hating my mattress for the last year, and I finally was like, I'm playing poker every day. I buy in for $300. I rebuy for hundreds of dollars. I'm winning and losing thousands of dollars, but I won't spend $200 on buying a new mattress. And I'm like, this is so ridiculous that you have these like two worlds. And so I bought a new mattress 2 days ago, and it's sitting on the floor. It has to inflate. It's a bed in a box. And I'm like, it was $200. It's nothing compared to buy-ins, but like I never did it, and I finally did that. So like to me, that's a hobby is trying to find these areas in life where you could like improve your quality of life with something that's like fairly simple. And so I'm very excited to sleep on a new mattress starting tomorrow. That's nice. Has nothing to do with your question, but that's where my
No, but good for you. I mean, I think like finding ways to optimize our life is really important, and we just get stuck on like cruise control. I think, especially frugal guys like me, and sounds like maybe you in the right way. So good for you. Good to recognize that. And yeah, anything. What's that expression? If there's anything that's between you and the ground that is worth investing in, shoes, beds. Yeah, has no one else
heard that one? That's pretty good.
Oh, these panels gonna like pretend this is some weird Canadian expression. It's not. It's just anything that's between you and the ground is something worth investing in. There you go. Ding. The more you know.
Never heard it, but thank you for the education.
It's not just poker here on the RecPoker podcast. We're shaping minds and molding people. All right. Chris Jones, you have been reviewing some stake study stack suggestions from the YouTube chat.
There's a lot of things that are between you and the ground. I mean, there would be a lot of investment going on if you just had to invest in all of that, right?
Well, list a few. I know I'm not crazy about this. Not like carpeting, but like office chair. That feels like a good place to invest.
Like all the clothes that you ever wear, all the
are you lying on the ground? Your hand. Are your pants between you and the ground? How are you wearing these clothes? That I don't think so.
What do you mean they're not between me and the ground? Of course they are. Where are they?
My socks and shoes are, but like my sweatshirt isn't between me and the ground, unless I'm like lying on the ground. Come on.
So you have very expensive socks
So you mean it has to touch the ground? Is that what you mean? It has to touch the
I think
ground?
it's like no, but it's like between you, like you're resting on it and it's resting on the ground. I would say.
All right, yeah. Well, we'll leave that one alone, I guess.
All right, so the aphorism needs work. Fine, I
Yes.
understand. It's
Yes.
not perfect.
What if you
Okay.
live on the second floor of an apartment building? Do you have to go knock on your downstairs neighbor and like invest in their entire house?
I would. That
Because
sounds
that's
smart.
between you and the ground, is it not?
I absolutely. You really got
Okay.
me there.
Just checking.
Yeah. No, I think so. That's why I always live,
I live
on the ground floor. Yeah, you have to.
Yeah,
And
and then
it gets you the best access to the basements. In my line of work, I need a lot of open storage spaces with lots of floor drains and easily clippable areas for
and his
security.
neighbors below him would say, "Bless his cotton socks."
That's right.
It sounds like he's got really nice socks up there.
I mean, I
Neighbors
invest.
below
I
him
invest.
are just happy they're above ground. They're in the basement.
That's right. Jim's storage basement strikes again. It's just storage, folks. Nothing terrible. Sorry, Chris. Were you about to say something? Were you about to play a game with our guest?
I was, but I mean, I'll let this go on forever. Anyway, so based on the theme of the night, we are going to do 3 names for State Study Stack. I am audibling into, by my quick research in the last 5 minutes, I could be wrong, the 3 most successful Robs who play poker.
Oh,
So you have to pick one who you would like to stake in a tournament or cash game, one that you'd like to study with, and then one that you would like to take all their chips.
okay.
And I hope you know who they are, but the 3
I was gonna
names
say, do I
are.
know who they are?
I hope you know who they are. The 3 names are Robert Mizrachi, a little bit of a Roberto Romanella, and Rob Campbell, former WSOP Player of the Year, Rob Campbell.
How do I only know one of the 3? That's crazy. I only know Mizrachi, and I know Michael Mizrachi much better than Rob Mizrachi.
Well, I think
those are the 3 most famous or poker Robs.
Well,
No.
or Robert Varkonyi. I guess we could throw him in there. He's
I like Robert Varkonyi. I know who he is.
Okay. Well, let's go with, since you don't know, let's go Mizrachi, Varkonyi, and Rob Campbell, former WSOP Player of the Year.
I'm gonna have to trust you on that. What year?
2019 or 2020, I think.
I'm sorry, sir. I did not know who you are. I apologize. Like I should know who he is. No idea. I never heard his name before 1 moment ago. Okay, big study or stack. So Varkonyi, we're obviously going to stack. Like he is like he's an ancient poker villain that nobody likes. Everybody just wants to take his chips. Yeah, easy one. Stake and study. I guess I'm gonna. Am I studying this player or am I helping him study? I still don't know what you want from me.
No, you're studying with him, like you're running hands with him
to your benefit as a player.
Okay, then yeah, I'm gonna go with Mr. World Series. I know his name, Rob
Campbell. He's Australian.
Yeah, Campbell. Rob Campbell. We're gonna study, and then it was the other one, Rob Mizrachi. We're gonna stake.
All right,
There you go.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I'm sorry for making that so tough. It's really hard. When you don't
It's
know
better.
people.
It's better podcasting if the guests have no idea what they're doing. That's
If
why
I
we
come
chose
on
you.
another podcast ever, I'm just gonna give you a list and then tell you.
That's right. We could work from. There was a pre-submitted list
Yeah.
of possible people that we could
Here's
use.
my
for
3
sta-
people, and here's who I pick. Yeah.
This is the Rob Perelman rider that we'll be
Yeah.
getting. Also, he needs a bunch of green M&Ms.
Green M&Ms. Yeah.
and a tray of delicious hot dog sandwiches. All right, well,
Oh.
Rob, this was a real pleasure.
Hold on, sorry.
Um,
One more thing. So you triggered those notes. The hot dog sandwich. So this one cannot be looked up. This is not a hand. We did.
Okay.
I think it was Poker After Dark, high stakes poker. I'm not sure. It was at the South Point now, South Coast,
Oh, yeah.
South Point, and they had, instead of doing craft services and hiring outside food, they had like a little vending kiosk that they had like hot dogs and pizza and nachos that they were just open for all the players and the staff. And so everybody was eating all this stuff, and they do this thing where they cut around the table to each of the players so that they can talk, and they go, hey, this is this person, this is this person. And they cut to TJ Cloutier, and as they cut to him, he has a hot dog, and he goes and licks all the like ketchup off the hot dog. And it's called a line cut. So they go around, and it's not necessarily what's going to be the final thing on the show. And we were watching in the back, ready to start the action, and they cut, and he doesn't know that the camera's on him. Nobody knows, but we're all watching it, and you just hear the entire crew just crying, laughing. It was the most disgusting thing ever. Anybody listening to hot dog is going to be gross, but TJ Cloutier is a whole different story. I don't think it ever made TV, but it was like it lives in my brain rent free.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that with us, Rob. I knew we were going to get some good stories out of you. Oh, that is fantastic.
When you think of hot dogs, just think of TJ Cloutier licking the hot dog.
Well, now I'll never eat another hot dog in my life. Thank you so much, Rob. That's you've done it. You've really done
You're
it.
welcome.
All right. Well, let's. I'm so pleased to be able to chat with you again, my man, and to share
Always.
a cold frosty beverage. This has been a
Yes.
pleasure. The YouTube channel for when it gets populated with awesome PLO double board bomb pots is Oops All Bomb Pots. Is that right?
Yeah, and actually, my goal was to have one published by the time this aired, and I didn't do that. And I had the most wild hand 2 days ago, and my camera was not rolling for that one. I've been taping every bomb pot hand, and then that one somehow I was busy. It came up, and I'm still thinking about it. It's 3 days ago, and I'm so mad that I didn't get it. But I will have content there soon on Instagram. Oops, all bomb pots. Eventually, one day.
All right. Well, Rob, thank you so much for joining us again, and happy holidays. A very happy New Year to you. We're recording.
You guys have New Year's in Canada? You have the same one, or is it different?
Yeah, we finally got it. We finally got it a couple years ago. It's a great tradition you guys have been doing.
Congratulations.
Yeah, no,
happy New Year's. Thanks for having me again. It's always a pleasure.
All right, my man. Enjoy the holidays and see you in the new year.
Take care, guys.
We're gonna have to do this Texas trip, I think. Like, because we got some fun members down there too. Michael's been bugging me. Not bugging me. That's not fair. He's suggested a couple times that we go down to Texas and have some fun down there. I know there's a lot of good card rooms, so just got to find the right time of year and see if we can get some RecPoker road trip action down to the biggest state. Is that true? My American geography is not great. It's the big one, right? Isn't it?
Biggest state? What?
In Texas?
In the contiguous United States.
Okay, right. There you go.
Yeah.
Hawaii is bigger. Is
right? Yeah, right.
No.
Yeah, you got it, Jim. Your geography skills are exponential.
It might be below the water. It might be bigger.
Yeah.
The biggest.
Oh, yeah. That's right. No, you never know. You're asking the real questions here.
Can I add something that I put in the chat? Because I wanted to look it up to make sure. So Robert Campbell won the 2019 WSOP Player of the Year. And Robert Campbell was formerly a professional esports player, was the top-ranked Pokemon player in the world, and he has worked as a stand-up comedian.
Sounds like Rob Perelman should pull his head out and look around a little, because maybe he should be on his radar. He's your raw. How many? Let me just put it this way. I know a lot of the gyms out there. Like, we get together. There's a group. We meet. Don't Rob Washam. Don't tell me that the Robs don't get together on the fourth Thursday of every month and just make some plans for.
Obviously, we do. It's quite the gathering.
It sounds
maybe
like
not quite as big as the gym gathering, but it's pretty impressive.
Gym gathering can kind of.
I'm now
shows.
wondering if I am just ostracized from the John gathering, because I think there are probably more Johns than either Jims or Robs, but I have never been invited.
There's two spellings, so
yeah, and there's so many Johns. The odds of one falling through the cracks just seems like exponentially more likely in your case. I'm sure that's what it is. You've moved in the last year. Maybe there's a mailing address issue. Did Santa come this year? Because he always knows.
I don't know. I don't think so yet. So maybe that's the problem.
I think that's the problem. He lives close to me, as you know, because we're America's hat. Yep. So I'll go roll up on the clauses to see if I can get this all straightened out for you, John. You're too nice a guy for that to be a problem. Yep. So there's a bit of a fun tangent. Why don't we give away a fantastic prize? Oh, I guess so. First, so this has been fun. We're kind of doing things a little differently on the show. New graphics and different. I mean, if it goes out on Friday, that means everything worked out perfectly. I hope it's been fun for everyone around here. Any takeaways from the conversation with Rob? Any thoughts on other fond poker memories of 2024? Before we went live, Lorianne Persinger had asked me, what did I think was the difference between the WSOP main and the WPT championship for nice poker memories. And I do think WSOP has had this legacy bucket list item, the bracelet, it's at the top of the list for recreational players everywhere, and it carries so much power in the poker world. And it is a phenomenal. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a phenomenal series. The logistics of that make me want to throw up on my mouth. It sounds like a terrible thing to have to run, but they do a great job with it. But I will say that the WPT at the Wynn is just so good. Like, everything is run so smoothly. I've never seen any fisticuffs at the urinals. The lines are shorter. The staff are amazing. I mean, like, everybody on the staff is great. The player experience is phenomenal. You can get a cappuccino at the poker table for spoiled old guys like me. That's a nice little perk. But you can just tell part of it's because the WPT is a quality organization. They're not paying me to say any of this, but I'll be honest with you guys. Part of it's just because the Wynn really trains their staff really, really well. And like, I worked in the service industry for several years. I know what good service and bad service looks like. And they've just done a really good job from the top down. Every manager, clerk, custodian, and then on the floors too, the dealers, the floor staff, everybody knew what they were doing. They were very polite and helpful. Just really a really quality experience there. So, I did mention in the column last week for Poker.org that I was putting together, like, I love the WSOP, and they're not ever going to be anything but that bucket list item. The bracelet is still how we measure success in the poker world in a lot of ways. But the WPT at the Wynn, like, they're coming on strong, and I think they got to figure out a way to schedule these events better so that the WSOP Paradise down in the Bahamas or wherever it is that all the rich people go who want to pay $60 for a banana isn't at the same time as the WPT's Winter Series at the Wynn. There's too many available weeks in the poker calendar. Just do it in January instead. If you're listening, WSOP, do it in January instead. Let us do both, because they're similarly frightening to play $10,000 poker tournaments, but they are very different. The series, the player experience, just the feel of the whole thing. And I think there's room for both. So quit competing with each other. And like, can't we all just get along and play poker? We'll show up if you make it happen.
It's really amazing when you think that the WPT Prime Championship still got almost 10,000 players, even though there was the WSOP going on down in Paradise. So it just shows you that poker is alive.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was great. It was great to be down there, and I really did enjoy that. John, or any other last additions to Poker Memories? No? Then let's list some. Let's recognize some recent home game winners, John Somsky, and then we'll give away a fantastic prize and roll on out of here.
Well, we had our mixed game series Tournament of Champions, and Ship and Flip Rec Luke O'Driscoll won his very first mixed game series Tournament of Champion.
Way to go, Luke.
Bruce K54, Bruce Kuiper, got his 7th nightly victory. Poker Geek Man John Somsky got his 2nd nightly victory for the year.
There he is.
Now then, KB got his 3rd and 4th nightly victories of the year back to back. And then Noah, with lots of H's, 1291, got his 3rd nightly victory. Eric Anderson, E. Anderson 85, got his 13th nightly victory for the year. The Took, Brian Cole, got his 1st daily mixed practice event victory. Rick the Good Dog got his 3rd international victory. E. Anderson 85 also got his 3rd international victory. And then Swedish Fishy 77 Lars won the LPP event. So he can contact info at rec.poker for his free month at Learn Pro Poker. It is really throwing me off seeing me so big in the screen here. I am just, no one should have to see that.
You did a great job.
It's jarring.
And now we're leaving it for the rest of the stream.
You're stuck that way now. Yeah, that's amazing. That's so great to see. Great to see Rick the Good Dog back in the winner's circle. I haven't seen Rick in there much. I'm sure he's been playing elsewhere, but looking forward to seeing you, Rick, if you're listening. And Eric Anderson we were chatting with him on the forums edition just a little while ago, and he's setting some goals for Poker 2025, and he seems to be making good progress. He wants to crack that 50 mark for our Lifetime Achievement Award for Rec Poker Home Games. So congratulations on some fantastic winners. And yeah, Lars, I think it was Lars who won on Sunday.
Yep.
If you win on Sunday, the games are free, but the prizes are real. You have won a free month at Learn Pro Poker. Ryan LaPlante and the gang at Learn Pro Poker were our first learning partner, and they really have been a great supporter of what we do here at Rec Poker for a long time. So congratulations to Lars. Email info@rec.poker, and you'll be given a fantastic prize. And speaking of supporting what we're doing here at Rec Poker, if you go to rec.poker/support, you can find some great ways to help us out just for free by liking and subscribing, signing up for a couple things, commenting on a couple things. But there's also, if you'd like to make a donation, most of what we do is free here. We're a largely volunteer-based organization. So whether it's through PayPal or we have a fantastic Patreon program where you can, for $10 a month, if $22 for a premium membership is too much, for $10 a month, you can download audio versions of almost all of our training videos all month long. And it's a great way to learn on the go and to help us out a lot. So go to Patreon/RecPoker or go to rec.poker/support, and you'll find some great ways to help us out. And I would appreciate that. Of course, just listening and being an active member here in our free membership is a great way to help as well. So thanks to everyone who's gone to rec.poker and signed up for a free account. All it takes is an email address and a smile. I think we've got 5 names for the food bank raffle. Secret producer Rob number 3 by screen time.
How did I get number 3?
Because no one's seen your face yet. You were like, I'm trying to. Well, we could have gone alphabetical. Let me see how that would have worked out.
All right,
No, it need to be Rob number 1.
Something really quick.
Okay.
I'm probably gonna break this. We're gonna do this really quick and see what happens here.
Let's see. We're breaking stuff.
I believe we're sharing. We spun the wheel, and I don't know if you guys can see it, but Ginger.
We cannot.
Is
Ginger. All right. Congratulations, Ginger.
There you go.
And Ginger, thanks for your support over here at Rec Poker. It's been fun getting to know you a little. Send an email, please, Ginger, to info@rec.poker, and we will set you up with your free month at the Poker Forge. Isn't that right, Rob Washam? I think that's what
that is correct. We are giving away a free month at the Poker Forge. And there was one little segment in the home games that we forgot to share with our listeners.
Get in
that's
here, buddy.
The November ROI. I have to apologize for being so late with this, but the holidays, things get a little crazy. So what can you do?
Sometimes
but anyway, here we go. Best ROIs from November. Number 1 was Now You Said It, and his ROI percentage was 213.
Nice,
213%. So he killed it.
Congratulations.
Then we had one of our Wrecking Crew members, Com Binkley.
No surprise there.
Followed by another Wrecking Crew member, Fergie56.
Way to go, Kim.
And then Maddie Bumpo came in. And right behind Maddie was Michael Babker, M. Babker. And
excellent.
Another name that everybody is familiar with came in next. It was Stewie 13.
Oh, yeah.
Another one of the Fergie 56 crew up there.
The Poker Friends Forever. That's right. Yes, exactly.
One more Wrecking Crew member got into the top, and that was Poker Geek MN.
Woohoo! Yeah.
With a 60% ROI. And we ended up the 5th non-Wrecking Crew member was Bone Crusher 14.
Amazing. Another Canadian. I don't know. I shouldn't dox these people because I don't know if they've made their names available. But congratulations to all our fantastic premium members who are. We're just tracking sort of our top premium members in the home game club and comparing their ROI if they play at least 4 games. So these are some very talented players, obviously. Rob, who is the number 1 winner again, if you don't mind me asking?
Now You Said It.
Now You Said It. So send me an email, please. And I'll try not to dox them. I already said their name, Joe. Congratulations, but that's all I'll say. I won't mention where they live or what they look like or their last name. But Joe, send me an email.
But here's their phone number and their address.
Security code for their
anybody wants to know.
What the prize that we give away for this is to come on the show and meet one of the guests of your choice for the next little while. So Joe, send me an email, jim@rec.poker, and we will set up a. Oh, he's in the YouTube chat. Of course he is. Hey Joe, welcome and congratulations. And we'll sort of let you know who the guests are coming up, and that'll be a fun way for you to meet some fun folks in the poker world. Speaking of meeting fun folks in the poker world, I just want to mention again, January 30th is a Thursday. I'll be arriving in Minnesota and heading up to my favorite card room, racetrack, and casino. You know it as Running Aces. You can find out more about them at runaces.com. But if you are there on Friday, January 31st and Saturday, February 1st, boy, are you in luck, because there is going to be a ton of fun activities, poker tournaments, poker cash games. We're going to splash some pots. We're going to give away some merch. We're going to benefit a local food bank. We're going to have some meals and drinks together. It's going to be a lot of fun. So if you go to rec.poker/events, you can see our event calendar. We'll have more details about the actual tournaments happening there on Friday and Saturday soon. But circle those dates. It's definitely happening, and it would be great to meet some more of our audience members. Quick show of hands on the panel here. Chris Jones, are you going to be around for Rec Poker Weekend at Running Aces? Yes, sir. John Somsky, you're going to be able to make it out for this one. Rob Washam, you moved, man. You retired, and you sold out, and you went down to Arizona, and you're like not even here anymore to partake, even though you like rocked the first ever Rec Poker Weekend by winning like 9 tournaments or something ridiculous.
Well,
like
it was only 2, but
it felt like a hell of a performance.
But it was back to back, and it started at 10 in the morning and ended at 2 in the morning.
Yeah, that's what happens when you play on St. Oswald's Day. What a
That's
great
right.
day. What a
It
great
doesn't
day that
exist. St. Oswald's Day is kind of like, it's not really there. It's only there once every 4 years.
Wow. Okay, that does sound like magical and ethereal. And like a cloud, a mist comes out and obscures the village, and then if you're not in the village on St. Oswald's Day, no, I'm getting confused. Okay, never mind. Joe Coolis, I don't think you're gonna be able to make it. Well, are you? What do you think? Can you make it out to Running Ace? You're not a Minnesota guy, but you're relative. You know, you're like.
It seems like this resistance to me coming up to play.
No, nothing would make me happier. Come on.
Did I not pay or something like that? I don't know.
I know you're an East Coast guy, and I'm never sure if people are able to actually travel out for this.
You know, I'm looking to see if I can combine it with a trip to see my parents. My parents are from Wisconsin, so there's those states are contiguous, so I might be able to make it. But apparently I shouldn't come, and so I'm going to take this as
that's right.
Your money's so good here, So.
Yeah, so he's good. He does know how to read between the lines. That was very impressive, Joe. I really thought I was being very, very subtle about All right. Well, anything else, gang? Are we done? Did we do it? Did we pull it off? I think it worked. All right, we're gonna wrap this puppy up. Big thanks to Rob Perelman, who was such a great guest and a really fun guy. I hope we get to talk with him again. Rob Washam, Joe Coolis, Chris Jones, John Somsky, Rob Gardner behind the glass, behind the curtain there, making all the music happen. Everyone in the YouTube chat, you were phenomenal. Thanks for your contributions. All our premium members, you, the listeners at home, we couldn't do it without you. So thanks for joining us. See you next week.